Big story tonight. South Africa's headline unemployment rate hit a record high of 34.4% in the second quarter. That's from 32.6% in the first 3 months of the year. Businesses continue to shed staff due to the economic impact of COVID-19. The unemployment rate, the highest since Statistics South Africa's quarterly labour force survey began in 2008. If the number of people who are discouraged from seeking work is included, we have an unemployment rate of 44.4%, or to put it another way, 12 million people want work but don't have it. The Economist Sifiso Skenjana joins us now. Sifiso, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us on the Pulse. 12 million people who are unemployed in South Africa. It's a massive number, and it's a number that seems to only be getting worse. It shows, once again, how deep this problem is.
Good evening, Stephen, and the viewers, of course. Yeah, the number is certainly getting worse. And the health of the economy is also not improving. And I think we've often spoken of a number of things, Stephen, that we, I think, must focus on when we look at around what could be a potential recovery opportunity. Is that first and foremost, in our country, we have seen jobless growth, and therefore our GDP can't be the sole measure of opportunity in terms of what are the opportunities for job creation. Two, when you look at those job numbers, you start to see particularly the extended unemployment number for Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, Limpopo, and these are all the provinces that have a lot of brain drain happening. Therefore, a lot of the small towns, they are unable to carry themselves anymore, and these are all big fiscal risks more than also they're just economic risks. And so I think when we look at those unemployment numbers, we also need to be able to read in between those numbers and see exactly what the scope of the risk that is posing for the economy.
It's very tempting to blame the government of the day, and I mean, we can do that, and we could say that the present party has been governing this country since 1994. But there's a lot more to it. I mean, unemployment, and particularly youth unemployment, is really a regional problem. If you just Google the top 10 countries in terms of youth unemployment, you'll see countries like Zimbabwe, Eswatini, Botswana, and Namibia. They're all there. They're all in our region. At the same time, if you go back really to the 1970s, you'll see the percentage of people that are unemployed in South Africa has gone up and up and up. There's one blip towards the end of the early 2000s, but really that number has gone up and up. At the same time, we see the fourth industrial revolution coming along. If you are not educated in exactly the right way with tech skills in terms of the information economy, you're in a very difficult position. What I'm trying to say is, Sifiso, and I hate to say this, our future might be worse than our present when it comes to unemployment.
Terribly so, Stephen. I mean, if you look at what we currently are spending in terms of our gross expenditure on research and development, we target from the NDP a number of 1.5% of GDP, and we're currently spending 0.75%, and that's how much we spend on research and innovation. And that's the sector or this area that creates a knowledge economy that also can improve the comparative advantage we can have in a global competitive landscape where young people specifically are participating. We see, new funding rounds of African unicorns in terms of startups, etc. And you look at the average age of those startups, they're run by 24-year-olds. And so simply we aren't creating a conducive environment, first and foremost, for young people to economically express themselves. And I think the second issue is that when you look at, tax collection in South Africa, corporate income tax has been dwindling over the last few years. And therefore, it means that we've lost productive capacity in the economy. And so when we're talking about growth and we're not looking at a multi-sectoral approach from a capacity building point of view, rather, focusing on kind of once-off or big opportunities either happening in mining, etc., those are the things that are really going to continue to disenfranchise the young people. And I think what you also allude to, Stephen, is the fact that these things happen in cycles. And we've seen, for example, in Thailand, where once a country starts to have, for example, coups, the probability of it happening again increases. And it's the same thing with youth disenfranchisement, and this is exactly why it's happening also in a SADC context. And I think it's asking big questions around the real sovereign risk and social risks that are being embedded because of inaction, particularly from a youth inclusion point of view.
Sifiso Skenjana, I do appreciate the time. Thanks very much indeed.